वशत्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गोपीनाथ राधा गोपीनाथ श्री राधे जय राधा माधव श्री राधे ओ जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा सुभद्रा माई जय सुदर्शन जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव निताय हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल। जय श्री श्री राधा गोपीनाथ भगवान की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रील गुरुदेव की जय, गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोकैर्भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनदारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्। हरि ओम तत्सत्। So we are on Canto 1, Chapter 15, text number 32. We have finished until 31. So from today 32 to 50, the rest of the verses of this chapter we are planning to see. Let's see how much we can cover. So, as of now, we have heard about how Arjuna came back from Dwaraka, and he explained to Yudhishthira Maharaj, asked him what happened. Why are you looking like this? Did you do something bad? Did something bad happen to you? And all those questions. And then Arjuna explained how the Krishna, who was the source of all the good things that have happened to him, he listed all the various leelas that happened, and then he said all these instances it was Krishna who was protecting us, and now he has gone back. And then finally, he is heartbroken, but then he fixes his mind on the instruction, Bhagavad Gita, and then he is completely frees himself from the distractions of the body. So we heard that, with that we heard that. So now we continue about, what happened to the Yudhishthira Maharaj and other Pandavas. Text 32. Upon hearing of Lord Krishna's return to his abode, and upon understanding the end of Yadu dynasty's earthly manifestation, Maharaj Yudhishthira decided to go back home, back to Godhead. So, now Krishna has gone back home to, this is the difference. Krishna has returned to his abode. He came. Avatar, the word avatar means descending down. So when Krishna comes, he actually comes down. It's not that his form is created at some point and it is destroyed at some point. His form is eternal. His pastimes are eternal. They are going on eternally in the spiritual world as well as in multiple material worlds. There are millions of universes, right? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains that the Leela has, Krishna Leela is happening in one of the universes, because somewhere it is Dwapar Yuga, somewhere Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela is happening. So all of it is happening, simultaneously, and then also simultaneously in the spiritual world, eternally it goes on. So Krishna has gone home back to Godhead, and when Yudhishthira Maharaj heard this, he understood it was time for him to finish his, he also decided to go back home, back to Godhead. Now, this is the beauty of a devotee. Right? A devotee, he lives to serve, and by dying also he serves. Right? Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains us. So Yudhishthira Maharaj lived completely. His life was dedicated to establishing the mission of Krishna. Now that he has finished his, so he sent Arjuna to understand, because he kept on following all the instructions of Lord Krishna from the beginning. And then after some point, after he was established and he was living happily, he sent Arjuna to find out if there are any further instructions. That was the reason Arjuna was sent. What do we need to do next? Yudhishthira Maharaj sent Arjuna to understand, get answer for this question. Krishna has answered in an indirect way by finishing his pastimes and going back home, back to God. So Yudhishthira Maharaj understood that his life's mission also is over. There is nothing left, and he has decided to go back home, back to God. So the devotees, they have this choice, right? We talk about choice in the material world, but really only devotees have choice, right? Others are completely controlled by karma, whereas devotees, they have complete free will. Even in the case of Haridas Thakur, when Haridas Thakur asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is time for me, I'm not able to finish my round, so I don't want to keep this body. And then Mahaprabhu says, they keep on talking back and forth on various points. Haridas, he requests Haridas Thakur, can you reduce the round? And Haridas Thakur says, no, what is the point of living if I can't do my rounds, right? We are struggling for 16 rounds. He was doing 192, and he didn't want to come down from 192 rounds every day. So anyway, at the end of the discussion, Mahaprabhu tells, Haridas Thakur, you are a pure devotee of the Lord. That means you control even Krishna. So if you have decided to go back home, back to Godhead, who can stop you? Even Krishna cannot stop you, right? Because even Krishna is under your control. So you are completely independent. So if you have decided to, go, nobody, including myself, cannot stop. So that is the beauty, the free Jiva gets when he surrenders to Krishna. So it's the irony. The more we give up the free will, the more independent we become. Right? the more we want to use our free will for our own purposes, the more bound we become, right? Why? Because we are infinitesimal. Because we are so small, the moment we start thinking we are independent, the more and more we try for independence, the more and more bound we become. The more and more we surrender, the more and more unbound we become. So it's very important for devotees, to keep this in mind. And Prabhupada explains in the purport about how Krishna is returning to his abode is by his free will, and he gives the example of sun. Just because in the Western Hemisphere they don't see the sun, doesn't mean that the sun is not there. It is just that the sun is always there and he is always giving light. It is just that sometimes he is manifest to our eyes, sometimes he is not. Similarly, Krishna's pastimes are eternal. Sometimes he manifested is in the material world, sometimes it doesn't happen. So it doesn't mean, so it is all up to Krishna. So, by understanding, Prabhupada says, who understands this, janma karma cha may divyam, one who understands the birth and activities of Krishna, including him going back home, back to Godhead, one can achieve perfection. And because Yudhishthira Maharaj had understood this, he was also able to think about achieving his own perfection. Text 33. Kunti, after Arjuna's telling of the and disappearance of Lord Krishna, engaged in the devotional service of the transcendental personality of Godhead with full attention, and thus gained release from the course of material existence. So we will see that one by one all the devotees are leaving. The scene is set basically to show under what circumstances Yudhishthira Parikshit Maharaj became the king, what happened. All the circumstances are explained. So here, we see that Kunti Maharani, she, after she heard about this, and then she completely engaged in devotional service, and she also achieved the supreme destination. So Prabhupada, in the purport, he talks that when we engage in devotional service, what happens is that is our body gets spiritualized, right? And when by spiritualizing the present body, we can even get rid of all the material contaminations even in this life, right? And that's what Kunti Maharani achieved. And then after achieving perfection, she also went back home, back to Godhead. 34. The Supreme and Lord Sri caused the members of the Yadu dynasty to relinquish their bodies, and thus he relieved the burden of the world. This action was like picking out a thorn with a thorn, though both are same to the controller. Right? So an apt example is given, like when there's some sharp like things go into our body, we need to use a sharp object to bring it out, right? So in India, when if a thorn goes inside your leg, which happens very regularly, so they'll use a pin, right? The sharp pin to bring the thorn out, or they use another thorn to bring the thorn out. Only a sharp object can help. Otherwise, you'll cut yourself too much. So a sharp object can help you bring the sharp object that has gone inside. Similarly, as we discussed last week, Krishna's devotees cannot be vanquished by any other person other than Krishna's devotees, right? It's only Krishna's devotees who can vanquish another devotee of the Lord. So to finish off the pastimes of Yadus, then Krishna used them like we are used thorn to bring another thorn. He used a devotee to and also Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a beautiful explanation of this, which is explained in the purport. Actually, there were two types of associates in Mathura. One were the associates from the spiritual world, and the other ones were the demigods who took birth in the Yadu dynasty to assist in the pastimes of the Lord. So whoever got drunk and fought and killed each other, they were all the demigods who had to finish the pastime and go back to their positions, right? They were the ones, but the eternal associates of the Lord, they all went with, because they came with the Swarupa. There is no death for them. They don't have material body. Their body is eternal. They are Nitya Siddhas and completely transcendental. So like Krishna going back there about, they went back. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives this beautiful explanation, that the one who fought and finished the pastime were all the demigods who were taken birth. But Prabhupada also in the purport explains that one who serves the Lord is a demigod, and one who causes problem to the Lord is an asura. So here we see all the demigods, they killed each other and then they went finished their pastime in the earth. Because generally, the asuras, they can't win over the demigods generally, because Krishna protects them, they being such great devotees of the Lord. Text 35. The Supreme Lord relinquished the body which he manifested to diminish the burden of the earth. Just like a magician, he relinquishes one body to accept different ones, like the fish incarnation and others. So Prabhupada beautifully explains this verse. The purport is very deep of explaining the pastimes of the Lord. Prabhupada explains that the manifestation of the different avatars of Krishna, meaning a particular, he gives the example. See, the magician comes to the stage at particular point, and then he goes out of the stage at particular point. So his manifestation, and he takes various forms as well. When he is there, he takes many forms, right? Sometimes he covers himself like he magician himself is, he creates jugglery where he is under fire, or his body is cut into multiple pieces and all those things. He may take, he may show various things, but actually it is just an our perception of him. He is as a whole always there. There is no cutting or burning or anything is happening to him, or he is not not there at all. But it is just an our perception of the magician. Similarly, various incarnation of the Lord are present simultaneously, eternally, all the time, and sometimes we are able to perceive him in certain avatars, like the magician coming, cutting his body, or magician in fire, or magician in a joker's dress, or whatever it is, certain like that. We sometimes see Krishna as Narsinghadev, as Kurma, as Varaha, or Krishna himself. But these are all only the temporary, our perception is temporary, not Krishna is temporary. So we need to understand that. Text 36. When the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, left this earthly planet in his self-same form, from that very day, Kali, who had already partially appeared, became fully manifest to create inauspicious conditions for those who are endowed with a poor fund of knowledge. So the word, swatanva, right? Krishna doesn't have to give up his body and go back like normal souls, right? So that is why that word swatanva is very important here, which explains the difference between Krishna and the living entities, right? Krishna and also his pure devotees, swatanva, in the same form, they were able to go back home, back to Godhead. The moment Krishna left, immediately Kali's, until then Kali had already come. Prabhupada explains in the purport, the moment Mahabharat war was over, Kali immediately entered, because that was his time to come. But he was not able to influence anybody in the material world, because Krishna was there. Where there is Krishna, Kali cannot have any influence, right? So that is why it is very important for devotees to chant. We see how Kali is completely, ruling over the material world now. Everything is, in the quality of Kali Yuga. Everybody is controlled by Kali Yuga. So when we chant Hare Krishna mantra, when we say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, immediately Krishna is there. And when Krishna is there, Kali cannot come. So if we want to protect ourselves from Kali Yuga, then we have to constantly have Krishna with us, and that means we have to constantly chant the holy name of the Lord. Text 37. Maharaj Yudhishthira was intelligent enough to understand the influence of age of Kali, characterized by increasing avarice, falsehood, cheating, and violence throughout the capital, state, home, and among individuals. So he wisely prepared himself to leave home, and he dressed accordingly. So seeing all these signs, Yudhishthira Maharaj, could understand that Kali has already entered. There is a beautiful story that is explained in relationship to this particular Yudhishthira Maharaj identifying Kali. So once Yudhishthira Maharaj was sitting in his throne room, and then there was this, and the one who was his personal bodyguard was Bhima, right? So one time he was in his throne room, and Bhima was outside protecting the room, and one person came and he said, I want to meet the king. So the Bhima asked why, because I have asked him a question. I saw something very puzzling, and I need to know the answer to this question. So Bhima said, first you ask me, I can answer. Don't disturb Yudhishthira with these questions. I can answer. So what is the question? So he said, I was walking along the road, and then I saw this farmer. He had a beautiful vegetable and grains, everything in a garden. And then he had put a fence, and I saw at particular point the fence was eating all the vegetables and destroying the crops. Bhima was shocked. How can a fence destroy the crop? He said, I don't know what you're talking about. Please go and talk to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So he went inside. Bhima was waiting for him to come, but he didn't turn out. But as he was thinking like this, one more person came, and he said, I want to talk to Yudhishthira Maharaj, because I have some very important question for him. I saw something unique. And then he said, what did you see? He said that, I will answer your question. He said, no, you can't. He said, no, you ask me. Bhima said, you ask me, I will answer the question. So the second person, he said, see, there was this one big bucket full of water. And what they did was they took this full bucket full of water and they divided it among 5 small buckets, right? One big bucket of water divided into 5 buckets. And, they filled all the 5 small buckets. Now, when they poured back all the 5 buckets back into the big one, it couldn't even fill even a quarter of the original bucket. It was, and then how could it? You take a water, divide it equally among 5, then you take it back, then it should all come back, right? So Bhima didn't understand this. He thought maybe I'm weak in mathematics, so he sent him inside. And then the third person came. He also said, I have a question. Bhima asked what it is. See, I was coming in, and there was this guy who was sitting, and he had a needle in his hand, and astonishingly, there is a hole at the end of the needle, right? The needle we use for sewing, and there is a hole at the end for us to, so he said that the needle, he put he put an elephant through that hole, right? The elephant went through the needle hole, but its tail got stuck. Now, first of all, it is amazing to see that an elephant can go through needle hole, but then if the elephant can go, why its tail will not go? So he was, again puzzled. He said, go and ask Yudhishthira. Then finally the last guy came, and then he said, Bhima was already, said, you also have a question? Yes. What did you see? The fourth person said, I saw this small child. He had a very thin rope, and in front of him there was a huge boulder. And this little kid with this small thread, thin thread, he tied it around the boulder and pulled it, and the boulder came down crashing and broke into thousands of pieces. It became completely dust. Nothing is left. And Bhima said, how can, even I can't smash a boulder like that, the size that you are explaining. So he said, go inside. And that guy also went inside. Now Bhima waited, because he was curious to know the answers to these questions. And he was waiting for a long time. Nobody came out. So then he went inside and asked Yudhishthira Maharaj, where are the 4 people? Yudhishthira Maharaj said, what 4 people? Oh no, I sent 4 people to, they had some questions. I sent them to you to get answers. What questions? So then Bhima repeated, and then Yudhishthira said, immediately run. Find these 4 people. They are personification of Kali. You have to some other, bring them. So then Bhima asked, why are, how do you know that they are Kali? Right? Because then Yudhishthira Maharaj explained, the first guy is basically the crop eating the the fence eating the crop, is basically in Kali Yuga, the government which is supposed to protect the citizens, they only will destroy the citizens' life. We see that that's happening in Kali Yuga now. So the fence is there to protect the crop, the government is there to protect the citizen, but the fence destroying the crop, in Kali Yuga it will happen. So okay, what is the second one, right? Then he said, that also is a sign of Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, one father will bring up 5 children, right? But the 5 children at his old age will not able to take care of him. Again, we say that this is happening, people are, left out in the old age homes and all those things. People don't even keep in touch. In Western culture, it is so bad that people don't even keep in touch with their parents, beyond certain age. So that's a very sad situation. So then the third thing, what is the third thing? the elephant going inside the needle, hole, but its tail getting stuck. In Kali Yuga, people who do big, thieves or big bribery actions or bad things, they will escape the justice system. But people who do small things, they only get caught. So the elephant will go, the tail will get caught. Right? That's what is happening, right? One who does big crime, they will all escape. People who do small crime, they only get caught and they go to the jail. So then finally, who's the fourth one? And then, Yudhishthira Maharaj said, that is the fortune of Kali Yuga. Even a small child in Kali Yuga can bring a big boulder full of sin, his whole, sinful reactions, like a boulder, like Himalayas. It is so big. He can bring that whole mountain with a small rope, which is Hare Krishna Mahamantra, thin rope. So anyway, so these are all the symptoms with which Yudhishthira Maharaj could identify Kali has come in. So he decided it is time for him to leave as well. Text 38. Thereafter, in the capital of Hastinapur, he enthroned his grandson, who was trained and equally qualified as the emperor and master of all land bordered by the seas. So now Yudhishthira Maharaj, installs his grandson because it's time for him to retire. So he makes Parikshit Maharaj as the king. He installs him as an emperor, and he is ready to retire. Srila Prabhupada talks about how Parikshit was the emperor of the whole world. How? Because by being pious and being powerful, everybody accepted him as an emperor because he was able to provide such a high standard of life. There was no poverty, there was no problems. Through that he was able to keep everyone happy, and hence he became the emperor of the world. Text 39. Then he posted Vajra, the son of Aniruddha, grandson of Lord Krishna, at Mathura as the king of Surasena. Afterwards, Maharaj Yudhishthira performed a Prajapatya sacrifice and placed in himself the fire for quitting household life. So, because in the Yadu dynasty, most of them were finished, only few are left. So what Yudhishthira Maharaj did, for that line also have to continue. So he made Vajra as the king there. All the deities in Vrindavan that you go and see today, whether it is Radha Govinda, Radha Gopinatha, Radha Madana Mohana, or the Girida Govardhan, the deity of Govardhan. All these deities were established by Vajra, who was the grandson of Lord Sri Krishna, right? And Srila Prabhupada talks about how, the four, Varna and Ashrama, and when it is time, at a certain period of time, when the next generation becomes ready, the previous generation should quit, and go ahead. We see now how all the, politicians, they are holding on to, Prabhupada actually says, in one of the purports, he talks about how the politicians should, retire and give way to the younger generation, because that used to happen. We see how Dasharatha, when Rama was ready, immediately he was ready to give up the kingdom. Similarly, we see here Yudhishthira Maharaj, immediately, as soon as Parikshit Maharaj was equally qualified, he gave up. He wasn't holding on. Whereas in modern Kali Yuga, we see how the old men, they are clinging to their post, they are fighting for it, they are 75, 80 years old, and still they are power hungry. They don't have time, they don't, this whole idea of giving up the last part of their life for Krishna doesn't come in them. Right? So at some point in time, we should be ready as devotees. We are all practicing devotees. We are all, living in the material comforts. Having a family life, but at some point we should be ready. We should have this plan, like Yudhishthira Maharaj, Prabhupada explains that we should be ready to give up everything, retire, and give a part of the life completely for Krishna. Generally, those days, if you see, Brahmacharya was completely serving spiritual master, and Vanaprastha Vanaprastha was retired, where concentration becomes more on Krishna, and then in sannyas it is completely dedicated to Krishna. So you'll see that two part, the beginning of the life and the end of the life was completely dedicated to the Lord. Only one portion, like maybe 20-25 years in between, these materials and gratification was allowed. So we should be, geared for this as devotees. We should plan our life in such a way that we can dedicate ourselves to the Lord at certain point in our life. Text 40. Maharaj Yudhishthira at once relinquished all his garments, belt, and ornaments of royal order and became completely disinterested and unattached to everything. So, see, basically, we saw how, Yudhishthira Maharaj, see, we talk about Yukta Vairagya, right? Yukta Vairagya means using everything in the service of the Lord. Yudhishthira Maharaj, was the king. He became the emperor because Krishna wanted him to become the emperor. And once he finished the service and once he decided it is time, he gave up everything because he knows that there is a, he doesn't, all the instructions are fulfilled. So all the things that he has no more use in Krishna. So the moment something has no more use in Krishna's service, it has to be given up. Right? So here we see that, how intelligent Yudhishthira Maharaj was. He used everything, including his kingdom. And the moment, he gave it up, so Parikshit can do that service of using the kingdom in Krishna's service. He can take up some other service, right? And that service is to dedicate himself completely. So he became unattached to everything. So this unattachment or detachment comes naturally for a devotee. We don't have to struggle, right? For us, because our attachment to is only to Krishna, and because we are so attached to Krishna, whatever comes in our way, we use in the service of the Lord. And the moment that service is finished, that the use for that item also is finished, and then we are ready to go to the next service. And then, so because we are ready to go to the next service, we are eager to take up the next service. We don't have attachment for the old thing anymore. Whereas in the material world, because people don't know what to do next, they want to hold on to what they have. So for a devotee, this detachment is a very easy process, right? So Yudhishthira Maharaj, because everything is related to Krishna's service, and when Krishna went back home, Yudhishthira Maharaj decided he is also going to go back home, back to God. So anything in the material world is of no use to him. So he was very easily able to become detached from everything. Text 41. Then he amalgamated all the sense organs into then the mind into life into breathing, his total existence into the embodiment of five elements, and his body into death. Then, as pure self, he became free from the material conception of life. Now that, even his body's work is finished. That's what we were seeing. It's like he is so detached not only to his kingdom and all the external objects, even the body and the mind that he possesses, that he knew that it is his service using, they were all pure objects because they were all completely engaged in the service of the Lord. But now that the service is over, he was ready to give that up as well. So he merged the senses into the mind into the prana into the apana, and apana into and his total existence into five elements, and his body into the death. He was ready to give up. As we were seeing in the previous classes, for a devotee, death is a welcome process. We see how Dhruva Maharaj, he used it as a stepping stone to enter into the airplane that came from Vaikuntha. Right? He used death as a step. He uses it, even death, as a tool. And here we see how Yudhishthira Maharaj also, it's not that he went and committed suicide. That's not the meaning here. What he gave up the body for death. No more maintaining the body. There's no concept of maintaining the body anymore. It is now ready for death to conquer. He has no more attachment to it, right? So he has completely given up the ownership of the body, and he was completely situated in his own pure self. Such a wonderful and Yudhishthira Maharaj was able to achieve it like this. Yogis, they want to achieve the state, and for this they do tapasya for many lifetimes, not one single lifetime. It takes them many lifetimes to reach the stage. We see that Yudhishthira Maharaj was able to achieve it so quickly because of his devotion. Right? He has already achieved. We saw how the self-realization and this detachment and knowledge, these are all byproducts of bhakti. Right? When we do devotional service, these are all byproducts. We don't have to strive for them separately. Text 42. Thus, annihilating the gross body of five elements into the three qualitative modes of material nature, he merged them in one nescience and then absorbed that nescience in the self, Brahman, which is inexhaustible in all circumstances. So, body into the five elements into the three modes, and three modes into the Prakriti. And Prakriti he gave it to Atma, right? Or Brahman, which is inexhaustible. He dedicated it to the Supreme Brahman. So, Prabhupada in the purport, he talks about, how Maharaj Yudhishthira reversed the action and merged the five elements of the body into, because the three modes produces the five elements. Here, Yudhishthira Maharaj is able to reverse the process of creation itself. That is the power of a devotee. The qualitative, manifestation become merged in material energy, and which is produced by the false sense of pure living being. So the false ego was completely destroyed. The false ego meaning I am this, I am that. That concept of false ego was completely destroyed, and he was ready to go back home, back to Godhead, which is Goloka Vrindavan, and become an associate of the Lord. So Prabhupada talks about how even though Yudhishthira Maharaj was living externally, still he was internally completely he was achieved Jiva Mukti. Even while living, he has achieved liberation, because he has completely situated himself in his original platform as Atma. He had nothing to do with the body. He has given up all association, and he has given up all the identifications of the body. He didn't consider himself the emperor. He didn't consider himself the king or the relative, Kuru, nothing. All of that concept he has already vanquished. Prabhupada in the purport also makes one very important distinction. It's a very important one in the purport. Prabhupada talks about here, one who acts like a Brahman is a pure devotee. One who thinks himself to be Brahman is an impersonalist. Right? One who acts in meaning one who acts in the pure platform, which is service, is a pure devotee. When we are situated in Brahman, we act like Brahman, meaning we act in our original position. But if somebody thinks that I am the supreme Brahman, then they are impersonalists. So there's a difference in acting like Brahman and identifying oneself with the Brahman. And identifying oneself with the Brahman makes one as a Mayavadi, and acting in the platform of Brahman, understanding that I am part and parcel of the Lord. There also there is an identification with the Brahman, but in the proper context of and that because we have the proper context, we act there. If there is no action and there is only understanding, then that is impersonalism, right? If I only think I am Brahman, then I am an impersonalist. If I know I am Brahman and I am part and parcel of the Lord, there is a supreme Brahman, then I act on the platform of Brahman, then I become a devotee. After that, Maharaj Yudhishthira dressed himself in torn clothing, gave up eating all solid foods, voluntarily became dumb, and left his hair hang loose. All this combined to make him look like an urchin or madman with no occupation. He did not depend on his brothers for anything, and just like a deaf man, he heard nothing. So we see how Yudhishthira Maharaj became very similar to Jada Bharata, right? Completely, beyond the bodily consumption, away from body, no identifications, no, relationship to the body, completely destroyed. He then started towards north, treading the path accepted by his text 44. He then started towards the north, treading the path accepting by his forefathers and great men, to devote himself completely to the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he lived in that way wherever he went. So he gave up his house as well, all his relatives, brothers, everything. Because a sannyasi or a paramahamsa doesn't stay in one place. They keep traveling. Because they see Krishna everywhere, they keep seeing Krishna, going, in search of Krishna everywhere. So here we see that Yudhishthira Maharaj, following the great forefathers, he had all the great kings of Kuru dynasty who are great devotees of the Lord. He practiced what they practiced, and he became completely immersed in the service. Text 45. The younger brothers of Maharaj Yudhishthira observed that the age of Kali had already arrived throughout the world and that the citizens of the kingdom were already affected by irreligious practice. Therefore, they decided to follow in the footsteps of their elder brother. So now the rest of the Pandavas, they also knew, because they, understanding based on what Yudhishthira Maharaj did, um, they were able to understand that Kali has arrived and it's not a good time for as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, this is not a place for gentlemen to live. That's how horrible Kali Yuga is, because gentlemen are prosecuted in Kali Yuga. The more aggressive you are, we see that, right? How politicians, we even recently we saw that the political debate in America, where it was like, it's like two monkeys fighting. There was no forum, there is no decorum, there is no gentle, as we see, it's all vanishing. The more and more good qualities are vanishing. We are already in a very bad state. So the Pandavas, they could understand that, not only Yudhishthira Maharaj could understand, the others were also trained, right? They were all trained in serving Krishna. So their intelligence was supreme. So they could understand that Kali has going to come and the situation is going to become bad, and it's time for them to give up. So they followed exactly what Yudhishthira Maharaj was doing. They also gave up everything. They also merged their five senses into the Prakriti, into the three modes, and into the Prakriti. Their senses into the mind into the prana into apana, and their body to death. And they also became completely gave up everything, completely became detached. They surrendered completely to the Lord, and they also followed like his elder brother. They gave up everything with a torn cloth and with no attachment to anything. They left the palace. So Prabhupada in the purport, he talks about the following the authorities. He quotes Sridhar Swami, wherein he explains how dharma, artha, kama, moksha, they are not goals of life, including moksha. The only goal of life, as explained in Bhagavad Gita, is to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Yudhishthira Maharaj was engaged in that. Arjuna had already reached that stage, and Yudhishthira Maharaj as well, and the Pandavas as well, perfectly followed. So we can't speculate what we want to achieve in our life. That's a purport. That's what Prabhupada explains in the purport. Because our goals as well is not, I like this, I'll do this in life. No, that is nonsense. That means I still have this bodily identification. I am this, I am that. Whereas a devotee means he knows, what Krishna wants. But what Krishna wants is shown through other devotees. Sadhus are the only way through which we can understand the mood of the Lord. So we need to exactly follow the footsteps of the pure devotees, not speculate, not create anything on our own. Text 46. They all had performed all principles of religion, and as a result, rightly decided that the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna are the supreme goal of life. Therefore, they meditated upon his feet without interruption. See, the very interesting verse, very important verse, right? It's not that we were talking about how it is very important that at the last portion of our life we dedicate completely to Krishna, and we can't achieve that so easily. It's not that one day we'll decide we'll give up everything and we'll become completely attached to Krishna. Throughout our life we should have practiced, and that's what it is explained here. They all performed all the principles of religion. They followed the sadhana throughout their life, day to day, whatever they have to do, honesty, all the good characters, avoiding sinful things, the four regulative principles, and always engaging in remembering Krishna, engaging in his service. They molded their life in such a way that whatever desire, whatever they did, it is all according to the desire of the Lord. So their complete life was service to the Lord. And because they had done so much service to their life, at the end, when situation became very bad and it was time for them to leave, they could completely think of Krishna's lotus feet all the time, right? Vaikunta Charanambujam. Right? Charanam, always thinking the lotus feet of the Lord. We cannot think for lotus feet of the Lord for a minute. That is, while even like chanting one round, we can't completely hold our concentration. We struggle. So if we want to, at the end of the life, completely dedicate ourselves to the Lord, it means today, tomorrow, every day in our life, we need to practice. We need to engage in service. Service is the basis. If we don't engage in service today, our mind will not get trained. Right? As we were seeing in the previous classes, a devotee means service. We should be running, we should be begging for service, we should be fighting for service, we should be demanding service. We go to the temple, we see something, we should immediately engage in the service. Right? Sometimes it's very sad that the devotees, oh, I don't want to do this service, Prabhu, I have something else, they'll say, and then if you see, they'll go stand and talk and waste time. But the thing is we need to understand Prabhupada has created this movement just for us, all of us, to come together and serve. That is the basis. And why? Because only if we keep serving, if we do service, then our mind will become fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord. And if we are not engaging ourselves in our service, we cannot at the end of our life think of Krishna. Right? We need to practice now and we need to engage in service. Even if our mind is not cooperating today, it is okay. If we keep doing the service, the mind will automatically come to that point of where it can think of Krishna all the time. Text 47 and 48. Thus, by pure consciousness, due to constant devotional remembrance, they attain the spiritual sky, which is ruled over by the Supreme Narayana, Lord Krishna. This is attained only by those who meditate upon the one Supreme Lord without deviation. This abode of Lord Sri Krishna, known as Goloka Vrindavana, cannot be attained by persons who are absorbed in the material conception of life. But the Pandavas, being completely washed of all material contamination, attained that abode in their very same bodies. So, such a wonderful verse which explains that because they were able to think of Krishna completely in devotion, bhaktya, right? Dhyano driktaya bhaktya. That's the word bhaktya. Their dhyana, which is meditation, was in bhakti. There are three stages: dharanam, dhyana, samadhi. Right? Dharana means you can concentrate for 12 seconds. Dhyana means 12 into 12, 144 seconds. And samadhi means 144 into 12. That is 28 minutes continuously. If we can think of Krishna, we have achieved samadhi. Right? So here we can see that they were so advanced that they were completely, their mind was always thinking, they can't think of anything else. Because throughout their life they've done service. So we need to ask ourselves, in 24 hours in a day, how much time, if I'm doing only 2 hours, then only 10% or 5% of my day, if I'm engaging in service, my mind will become only 5%. It will be able to concentrate on Krishna. So the more we increase our service, the more mind's capacity to concentrate on the Lord will come. That's a secret. So here they were completely engaged, and because of that, they immediately achieved back to order in the same body. They don't have to give up their body. Like Abhishek Prabhu explained in a couple of classes ago, there were two. When the Pandavas came, there were two. One is the people from the spiritual world and the Devatas also, and they merged together. And when the pastime was over, the one from spiritual world, that part, they went back to Godhead in the same body. And the other part, we see that story is explained in Mahabharata, how they went to the heavenly planet. Right? So here it talks, Bhagavatam being a pure part, it talks only about the pure devotee who came, the Pandavas, right? So sometimes two personalities merge into one. Like we see how Advaita Prabhu, he is the incarnation of both Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. Right? Similarly, there are many devotees like even Haridas Thakur, we know as Brahma, but also Gaura Gannoda Desha Deepika. It says that he is also Prahlad and Brahma merged together, and also there's one Gopi or Manjari who merged. All three of them together became Haridas Thakur. So like that, sometimes many personalities come together, and when they finish the pastime, they go back in two different ways. Like that. Here, the Pandavas, the one who came from the spiritual world, the Nitya Siddhas, they went back to Godhead in the same body, and the other part, they have to give up their this body, and then they went achieve the heavenly planet. So this talks about the pure devotees who achieved Vaikuntha sky, and also it gives a criteria who can go back home, back to God at Goloka Vrindavan, the topmost of Vaikuntha planets, cannot be attained by people even if we have a little tinge of material consumption. There is no question, right? It said that as a jiva leaves the body and let's say he's going to the Vaikuntha Loka, he has to pass through all the heavenly planets, Satyaloka, Tapaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Brahmaloka, and all the different layers, right? In all these parts, if he gets attracted to anything, then he will stay there. So even going back home, back to order, we have to be very careful, right? So only one who has achieved complete purity in the heart, they can go back home, back to God. Otherwise, we'll get stuck again here. So we need to be very careful that we use this body, this life, this opportunity that is being given to us. We are able to associate with devotees. We are in the association of devotees. Prabhupada has given us a wonderful movement. We use this supreme opportunity to get rid of completely all material contaminations from mind. Right, we should at least have this as a goal. Achieving it is a secondary thing, but the problem with us many a times is we don't even have this goal because we are so attached to material things. We don't want to give up, right? If we are not even ready to give it up, there is no question of giving it up, right? So first we should have this desire to give up everything. And why? Because we have a higher goal, we have a higher purpose to achieve, which is to go back home, back to God. Text 49. Vidura, while on pilgrimage, left his body at Prabhasa because he was absorbed in the thought of Krishna. He was received by the denizens of Pitraloka planet, where he returned to his original post. So we know that Vidura was none other than Yamadharmaraja. After he has finished his pastime and he has finished the lifetime of curse that was given to him by Manduka Muni, he gave up the body, this body, and he returned to his post in Pitraloka as Yamadharmaraj, which was done as of now taken care by Aryama. Now that there was a substitute, like we have a substitute teacher, there was a substitute Yamadharmaraj. And now that he finished his pastime, he's one of the Mahajans, and as Vidura he has done great service. He has wonderfully worshipped the Lord and protected the devotees of the Lord. And now that his pastime is over, he also went back and took back his original position. Text 50. Draupadi also saw the husbands without caring for her were leaving home. She knew well about Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Both she and Subhadra became absorbed in thoughts of Krishna and attained the same result as their husbands. So Prabhupada, it's a very, very wonderful purport. He talks about how we saw how women or those age were completely dependent on men, and here we see that the men completely without any care, they left her and went. Right? So Prabhupada says, when it comes to spiritual life, everybody is on their own. There is no question of, everybody is for themselves. Because, we cannot help, we can guide others, we can help others, but we cannot, take others into spiritual life. That everybody has to take up for themselves. And same thing, achieving the final goal, everybody has to achieve for themselves. But Draupadi, again, she, by her service to the Pandavas, pure devotees they were, and because she served them so nicely, she was already ready for this. She was already fit to finish her pastime. So she was able to completely think of Krishna, and in the same body she could go as well. In the original text, Shubhadra is not added, but Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says it also means Shubhadra because she was one of the queens, or the Draupadi and Shubhadra were the primary queens of the Draupadi and Shubhadra was the wife of Arjuna, and Draupadi was common for all five. Shubhadra, we know, is the sister of Krishna, and she is Yogamaya herself, so she could, but like Draupadi, they both of them thinking completely, of Krishna, they can go back home, back to God, in the same bodies. They don't have to change or give up and die. And it's explained in Devi Tam Vishnu Mayapi Mohayanti Characharam Krit Padmasana Sansasi Vishnu Bhavanu Sarini. This is a sloka about Shubhadra Devi. that Shubhadra, his heart is the seat of bhakti, and Krishna eternally resides there. He is completely controlled by Shubhadra. So she's Yogamaya, and Shubhadra Devi, by her mercy, she manifested the pastimes here. And then after Krishna finished and went back, and the Pandavas left, she as well went back home, back to Godhead. And Draupadi as well. It doesn't mean that just because women, we see how Prabhupada empowered all women, right? Because when it came to spiritual life, he saw everybody equal. And here we see Draupadi also, without the help of her husbands, on her own. Both Draupadi and Kunti, earlier we saw, they were able to achieve perfection because they could think of Krishna. Throughout their life, they've done service, and on that strength, they were able to think of Krishna, and achieve the perfection at the end of their life. Draupadi, Prabhupada writes, Draupadi had 5 husbands, and no one asked Draupadi to come. Draupadi had to take care of herself without waiting for her great husbands. And because she was already trained, she at once took to concentration upon the lotus feet of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, this personality of Godhead. The wives also got the same result as their husbands in the same manner. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur beautifully explains that they were able to achieve the perfection. Text 51. The last verse of this chapter. The subject of departure of the sons of Pandu for the ultimate goal of life, back to Godhead, is fully auspicious and is perfectly pure. Therefore, anyone who hears this narration with devotional faith certainly gains devotional service of the Lord, the highest perfection of life. Jai. This is called Falashruti. Falashruti means it discusses the fruit of hearing, right? As we saw, Bhagavatam, reading Bhagavatam itself is an act of devotion, and by doing devotion, we get more devotion. So that's the Falashruti here. It says, anyone who hears this chapter, one who hears about Pandavas, Arjuna, Krishna leaving, Arjuna leaving, Pandavas retiring, Draupadi, Vidura, and Kunti, all of them are achieving perfection. Whoever hears this part, right? So the last 4 weeks we have been hearing this part, and just by hearing this, we will all get devotion in our heart. So, if at all, whenever we feel our devotional attitude is going down, or we are struggling, we should read this chapter. Our level of devotion will go high. Any part of the Bhagavatam, actually it is said, even any verse of Bhagavatam, even half a verse of Bhagavatam, anybody reads, it is said that they will achieve perfection. Right? So Bhagavatam is the source of our devotion, right? So the Falashruti confirms that but when we hear this, the devotional service to the Lord will become established in our heart. Such a wonderful benediction. So please read the chapter at home. This being a Purushottam month is very auspicious month. Whatever we do, we get millions of times benefit. So just reading this chapter itself will give devotional service. Think how much mercy we will get by reading this chapter in Purushottam Mass, which is very dear to Krishna, Radharani and Krishna. So such a wonderful chapter. We heard about devotees finishing, for us, devotees appearing and disappearing, both are glorious. So when we hear them, both of that produces auspicious results. There is no inauspicious, there is no duality in Krishna consciousness. So even hearing the Pandavas leaving this earth, finishing their pastime, is very glorious, as auspicious as hearing their birth. So with this, we will finish the chapter today. If you have any questions, please send a message to 0414018739. Otherwise, I'll finish the class here. Thank you all for joining. Grindara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
So